bought an abandoned property. 1 month in on the renovations. It's a crazy story. It was a 6 month ordeal. After buying the property, there was someone still living in it that, hadn't paid their taxes in years and years and years. And I finally, after 6 months of paperwork and attorney fees and the stress of like not knowing what it looked like in there or not knowing what I was walking into, I finally got in there. And you never know what to expect when you buy a tax property. You can kind of do some research and learn a little bit about it, but you don't ever really know until you're inside and you can look at everything. Because what's on paper could have been done in 1980, which that was the case with this one. And then when you get inside, you realize that there's been 45 years of neglect. So, and neglect would be an understatement. I got after doing it the legal way, the sheriffs finally had to remove the man who was squatting out in there, and he had a drug problem and had no running water for the last 20 years, which I knew that. And I guess I should rewind. When I bought the property, no one's supposed to be living in these properties. They're supposed to be vacant, and they aren't supposed to have occupants inside living in complete and total disarray. But this one did, and I didn't know because you can only drive by. And when I would drive by and see the lights on, I just figured, well, they left the light on in there, and there was the guy didn't drive a vehicle or have a vehicle, so there was no vehicles in and out or anything like that. So I just thought it was an abandoned house with a light that was still on, and that was that. But finally, after I was let in, I realized that I had, a lot more work to do than I could have ever imagined. Now, I was already expecting the worst. I was expecting to even tear the house down because the property consists of 4.5 acres of land with a creek that runs through, and the house and the garage or shop or whatever was just kind of like a bonus if I could fix it. And this is so far my 1 month story. So I'm going to try to do these once a month to keep everybody updated. It's too much to deal with to do it daily. I'm too busy between my 2 other jobs and then working on the house itself. And I'm not down there a lot of the time. I have a crew down there helping me, different moving parts, different people in and out. It's insanity. So, so far, the first thing that we had to do was clear the property. The police that were there on site the day that they had to remove the guy because he refused to leave, I knew it was a bad sign when, before I even got inside the place, a police officer came running out of the back door and puked all over the driveway. And the police, they deal with some stuff. So I knew it was going to be bad. And they asked me, they said, "Sir, have you eaten anything yet today?" And I was like, "Yeah, just had breakfast and coffee." And they said, "Well, you might not want to go in there." So I knew it was bad. I didn't know how bad until I got in there. And it was, as bad as an episode of Hoarders. There was mice everywhere, mice droppings, the smell of mice. It was, urine and feces and buckets of human feces, considering that there was no water on for 20 years. The human feces that were, the buckets that were filled, it was crazy. I think we hauled out, all said and done, like 27 5-gallon buckets of human waste. And the toilet was filled with, and there hasn't been running water, so the toilet was filled to the brim with human feces. And cat poop everywhere. There was a cat. There were dead mice. I mean, you get it. It was bad. So as I'm walking in, I'm told, "Hey man, like you should probably clear this property or it could be condemned." So that was the first priority was to clear the property. So I do tattoos for a living, and I ended up putting a post out on Facebook like anybody want to do some work for some tattoos. Not expecting much, but at the end of the day, I had like 140 messages, and a crew of guys went down there and cleared it out. I got a dumpster dropped off the very next day, and all of the windows, every window in that house, which there's 17 to be exact, every single one of them at least had a crack. Some of them were broken out completely. They were all in horrible shape. The guy had blankets hanging all over the place just to like keep the heat in certain rooms. He was just running off of electric heaters because the electric company will keep electric on because it's inhumane to have it shut off over the wintertime in Pennsylvania. So they just leave it on and then like you owe them later or whatever. So the only utility that was on was electric. And he was just living in there with, he was a homeless guy living in a house with electricity. The roof had a basketball sized leak in it. So the roof had to be fixed. There's just, when it would rain, water just poured in like a faucet. On the one addition, not on the main house. The main roof was okay. So we cleared the house. That was first. Um, and then the outside had just as much, if not more, garbage everywhere. So we had to clear that. That was a big part of it. Immediately, windows had to be put in. So windows were pretty high on the priority list because if you want to, it was still freezing cold. This was February 20th when we started all this. So, to keep the elements out, the roof and the windows were the most important. Then it was on to the basement, and some of the joists were rotted out. So the joists had to be replaced in the basement. And then it started with, I set like 5 or 6 traps a day for the mice, and they would just consistently, I would get a new one. There'd be a new one that would come out. Or like every time I would go back in, all the traps were filled with mice. Until the point where it slowed down enough. It started getting a little bit warmer out recently, and there's been no sign of mice. We're in the process right now of, the subflooring's half done. My buddy Mitch has been going in there and doing the subflooring. And in the process of that, all the baseboard is being ripped off so that, we can clear out all the mice nests or mice droppings, any sign of mice. And then beyond that, it was the bedrooms upstairs were, the upstairs wasn't as in deplorable shape as the downstairs was, but the bedrooms are gutted. They're in the process of being gutted and they're being re-drywalled. But clearing the property was the biggest thing. So that took 7 30-yard dumpsters, of just debris. That's not counting the wood. There's still a ginormous wood pile in the middle of the yard that we're going to incrementally burn because it's just pine, or oak or maple. Nothing laminated, it's just wood. So we're going to burn that and have recreational campfires for the next month straight, probably. So that's going on. The acreage that the property came with, there's 4.5 acres of land plus a creek, and that's what was most appealing to me. I really wanted the acreage because worst comes to worst, like I was expecting to tear the house down and just build a cabin or put a double wide or something on the property if need be. But the house is salvageable, and we're this far with it now, so we're kind of on a roll, and we're moving along. So the roof got fixed. Uh, we got windows, roof, subflooring in most of the house. Rooms are beginning to be gutted. Basement joists fixed, which was huge. Property cleared, and I mean that might not sound like much, but it's only been a month, and uh, I'm doing all of this for work, the barter system. So obviously, I have to buy supplies, but all the work that's being done is in exchange for tattoos. Uh, and I have a really good team of guys that are doing really great, and we have things worked out. But as of right now, this is only 1 month into this journey, and the house couldn't have been worse. I mean, it could have been worse, but it was pretty much to the point where it needed to be torn down. About 50% of people that saw the house at the very beginning said tear it down. The other 50 said, you could probably save it. So I'm exhausted. I'm working nonstop, either there or I'm in the shop, or I'm building sheet stores or other. I have a couple different jobs, and now the grass is starting to grow, and I have a landscaping company, so that's gonna take off. I have to start doing the cemetery again, and I guess for this first episode, just wanted to show you guys kind of what I've been dealing with so far. Next episode, I'm hoping to have drywall done. I'm hoping to have a kitchen. I'm hoping to have the floors done. I'm hoping to have drywall and floors done by the next episode, and then we'll start dealing with other things. But my official plan for this property is to eventually, when it's done, I have to get it sided too, and I have to do the outside. There's a lot, but once it's done, I'm aiming to have it done by the end of summer of 2025. That's being very, ambitious. But if that's done, like my next venture is going to be to put a tiny log cabin in the woods and to Airbnb that cabin, because my plans with this house, I'm not going to live in it. I live in this house. I already own a house, but that house is going to basically be like my office. I'm going to start doing tattoos down there in the shop that's down on the property. I'm going to have a really nice private studio I'm going to work on. It's going to be like a recreational house for when we have guests in the Airbnb in the cabin in the woods to stay at. It'll be a place for the wife and I to go stay, and that's kind of the goal. We can go down there, and it can be like our home away from home, place to take the kids. We can fish in the creek. We can camp out down there, enjoy our lives. And that's kind of like my retirement plan. I can do YouTube. I can build hot rods down there. I'm going to probably put a garage up or something. Or I have all these garages at this property, so I'll still work here, probably on the car end. But yeah, I want to work. I want to do all my artwork down there, and I want to have an Airbnb, and that's the goal. It's a long way off. I have to be realistic. It's a lot of money. But my goal is to not borrow a buck from the bank. I don't want to borrow any money. I'm a little afraid of what I have to do with the water to get the water reconnected. That's going to be thousands. But other than that, it has a newer furnace in it. It just needs the oil. The oil needs like service, the oil tanks and everything, the filters, and but as of right now, that is the full-on update. This is episode 1 of many, but just to keep you guys in the loop of what I've been up to and why I haven't been posting car content every day. It's because I've been busy doing this nonstop. So thanks for hanging in there, and yeah, stay tuned, because there's going to be a lot more coming. I mean, and once the property is livable and once I'm spending more time down there, I'll be filming all kinds of stuff. So it's exciting, it's stressful, but exciting. And I feel like every dollar I put in it, I'll get 3 more out of it. So it's not like I don't need to be flying in this process. I could take my time, and I could not be as stressed out. But I'm the type of person where I like to get things done. I don't like things hanging over my head. I don't want some like 10-year project dragging out when I could have it done in 5 months. So that's the goal, 5 or 6 months, get this house wrapped up. And I'm just going to keep working hard, stay positive, and that's the goal. But thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode, because in the next episode, the house is going to look like a completely different property, I promise. So stay tuned. Have a good night. Bye.